Hey y'all, Uncle Jimmy here. When you speak for yourself, you're forced to think for yourself. And when you think for yourself, the sports world looks different. In order to enjoy this podcast and this show, you need to have the courage to look at the world from alternative points of view and not be offended when you disagree. Speak for yourself isn't your Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram feed. SFY tells you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. So, welcome aboard, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
But we start right here in Miami. I have a lot of respect for the mind of former NFL offensive lineman turned media personality, Ross Tucker. I used to love listening to Tucker and Booger McFarland break down an NFL Sunday on my drive home from Las Vegas in the wee hours of a Monday morning. But Tucker has written a piece for The Athletic that really bothers me. Tucker wrote a story with this headline: Andy Reid's reputation is already cemented with or without a Super Bowl victory. Let me repeat that. Andy Reid's reputation is already cemented with or without a Super Bowl victory. Are you kidding me? Winning it all no longer matters? Is that what I'm supposed to believe? Andy Reid is arguably the most popular and recognizable man at this Super Bowl. If not for Patrick Mahomes' mop of hair, Big Red would be the most recognizable man on South Beach. Reid is everyone's sentimental favorite. Jay Glazer loves him. Howie Long loves Andy Reid. Terry Bradshaw thinks Reid is a lovable teddy bear. Everybody's rooting for Andy Reid to win a Super Bowl. You know why they're rooting for him? Because they know his reputation isn't cemented. They want Reid to cement his reputation and legacy. They know if he doesn't, there are going to be guys like me who will diminish Reid's coaching career and place him a level below guys who won a Super Bowl. Last night, about 15 of us hit Prime 112 Steakhouse on South Beach. We ran into the entire Kansas City Chiefs front office, including General Manager Brett Veach. I'd never met Veach and the guys on his staff. I'm so glad we did. They were warm and friendly. Maybe they were lying, but they said they were big fans of the show. It was a group of hardcore football guys, a group of men who get it. It wasn't stated directly, but it was understood that we come on this show every day and try to tell you exactly what we think. It's not personal, it's just business. Getting upset with me or Marcellus or anyone on this show about a particular opinion is like being mad at Nick Bosa for sacking your quarterback. It's just a job. Again, it wasn't stated, but it was understood. Everyone knows I'm a little hypercritical of Andy Reid. I don't dislike Reid. I want Andy Reid to win the Super Bowl as much as any other Chiefs fan. But I'm not going to treat him like a Super Bowl winning coach until the moment he is a Super Bowl winning coach. To suggest that Andy Reid's reputation is cemented and not in need of a Super Bowl enhancement is crazy talk. Let's not act like Reid is a Hall of Fame coach until he accomplishes what Hall of Fame coaches generally accomplish. All right, Marcellus.
Man.
Get us rolling here. Does Andy Reid need a Super Bowl ring to cement his legacy?
Absolutely, if he wants his legacy to be of greatness, not just good. And that's the thing about being consistently good, that's not greatness. And greatness is not defined without a signature moment. And let's think about Andy Reid as a coach, who is a tremendous coach. But what is his signature moment? Is it Philly coming up short time and time again? Is it coming and revamping what this roster looks like in Kansas City and putting them in a Super Bowl opportunity? I don't know what's the great moment for Andy Reid. So if he wants to go down in history like some of the coaches that I played for, Marty Schottenheimer or Dan Reeves, if you want to stay at that level, that's the Hall of Goodness, the Hall of Greatness, the Hall of Fame level. Andy Reid needs a winning moment in the biggest moment, and that's the Super Bowl.
You know, I thought about Marv Levy when I thought about this headline.
Andy 4 Super Bowls, I'm all for it.
Well,
in a row.
Well, here's the thing. And here's the thing, though. We can talk about Marv Levy doing something as great as going to the Super Bowl 4 times in a row. But you know what we will always end the sentence or the paragraph with? He lost. So I can understand where Tuck was coming from when he wrote and said what he was saying. But to think that you've solidified your career without a Super Bowl win and you've made Super Bowl appearances, you will never be talked about with the upper echelons of guys that have coached this game unless you have, as Marcellus stated, that signature moment.
First thing is I'm looking for that Prime 112 invitation.
You were in bed by 9.
Right, you got a couple of dogs. Yeah.
Have you heard of Black Tie Event?
Yes.
This was the Black
Guy event. Hey, man, my palms are white. Look, we're the same, man.
I'm sorry.
Hey, no, you're good. You're good. From a legacy standpoint, has he cemented his legacy as a great coach? Absolutely, he's a great coach. He's not a sentimental. It's not about sentiment. It's about that he's one of the great people in this league, and we root for great people. Now, to cement, your legacy as a Hall of Fame coach, that hasn't been done yet. Because that's the differentiator for me. You're a great coach. Man, you've taken 2 teams to the pinnacle, to the championship. We'll see what happens on Sunday. But you've taken 2 teams there. You've been the coach of the year multiple times. You've been voted by the press multiple times, 2, 3, 4 times. You've been coach of the year. You won a Super Bowl as an assistant coach with the Green Bay Packers, Super Bowl 31. So you've done a lot from a coaching standpoint. You're one of the great coaches that we have had in this league. But to be considered a Hall of Famer, you got to have jewelry. I mean, that's what it comes down to. If you want to get to that next level, at some point, that's the differentiator for coaches when you go from the Hall of Really Good or the Hall of Great to the Hall of Fame.
There was a guy that was up for Hall of Fame induction with this centennial class that, to me, is like Andy Reid is a high-class version of Don Coryell. Great passing innovator. And I get it. Don Coryell didn't make it in, and he hasn't made it into the Hall of Fame. But Don Coryell is widely respected kind of as the godfather of the passing game. I think a lot of people believe that about what he did with the San Diego Chargers.
Yeah.
But he's not a Hall of Famer. I don't think people consider great passing innovator, but I don't know if they say great coach. And right now, Andy Reid is a great passing innovator. And he's been able to take Donovan McNabb, Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes, and all of them. And now he's taking Patrick Mahomes to a level, unprecedented level. He's a quarterback whisperer. He's a great passing innovator, not a great coach. And look, he has a chance to become a great coach because he's now built a defense. He hired the right defensive coordinator. He has a chance in this Super Bowl to define himself as a great coach. We'll see if he can do it.
Yeah, it's really simple when you talk about coaches and what's different for them than for players. We have stats. We can have signature moments. It's not just win-loss column. But when you look at a coach, it just has to be that impact, that simple. Win-loss column, and it has to be the ultimate win for you to be called a great coach. What happens is we get into rooting interest and likability. Oh, you shop at the airport store and get Bahama Mama shirts. Oh, you look like the guy next door. I'd love to have a beer with you.
Bahama Mama, he went.
I'm going to tell you the other thing.
That's the problem.
Or Tommy Bahama.
And it clouds your vision, brother.
But on to your point, this week, Andy Reid and this season, he's really leaned into self-deprecation. He does a lot of the same kind of eating jokes that I do.
Yeah.
He's become even more likable, and that's what I think is provoking a guy like Ross Tucker and some of the other people in the media.
I just think, your definition of what great is, because I look at Andy Reid, he's been successful everywhere he's gone. His guys have played hard for him. His guys have gone out there and played. He's been great. The way he handled Patrick Mahomes, he didn't stick him right out there. He let him learn this offense for a year underneath the tutelage of Alex Smith. Like, those things to me matter. There's a lot of great players. There are a lot of Hall of Fame players that didn't make the Hall of Fame because of where they got drafted. And the situation that they got drafted into.
I'm one of them.
And part of, yeah, absolutely.
I knew that was coming.
Right.
That's why I said
right.
it. I'm one of them.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to pray.
Right. Pray for what?
A different team.
Pray for what?
But you've got to be in the right spot so that you can flourish. And coaching, man, there are so many bad coaches in this league. There are a ton of bad coaches in this league. You have got to have somebody. I think one of the strongest things you can say, one of the biggest statements you can say to anybody is, I believe in you. And I'm gonna give you the tools for you to be successful. Then it's on you, right? And Andy Reid does that. What cements him, though, we're talking legacy. He's a great coach. Legacy, there's no question. But what cements him as a Hall of Fame coach is getting jewelry. And I think that's for every coach. That's why Marty Schottenheimer, as good as Marty was, or that's why, why Dan Reeves got a ton of wins and he's gone to 4 Super Bowls. He's not in the Hall of Fame. There's a reason. Until you get that jewelry, you're not considered an elite kind of Hall of Fame coach.
But I'm rooting. I got to push back because you're rooting now. Because it's a disservice to true greatness to sit there and say, if you're hella good, we can now talk about you in great words, great ways.
Is Jim
That's not fair.
Jim Kelly in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
But
Jim Kelly also won. Jim Kelly had numbers. That's what I'm saying. The conversation is different for a coach than it is for a player. Here's the thing. When you look at Andy Reid, he's done all those things. But let's not make excuses. Oh, you're a product of your environment where you got drafted. You produce in any environment. That's Hall of Fame. I sit here distant as a good player and don't ever convert it to greatness because you like me. I want that to still stay intact for those guys who went out there no matter what circumstances, made it happen, and that includes a coach.
As a high school coach, I think you got to take a look at it from a different angle as well. Everything about being a great coach is not based upon wins and losses on the field. It may sound good, and it looks good in the annals and the history of the game when you look back at it, but if you look at what Andy Reid has been able to do when he was in Philly, I played against Andy Reid my entire career. He did not have an elite offense at any point in time while he was coaching in Philadelphia.
Donovan McNabb?
No.
Westbrook.
An elite offense.
Westbrook wasn't great.
An elite offense.
James Thrash.
He didn't have the receivers until he had T.O.
Not an elite player. I said elite offense.
Mm-hmm.
Whole.
Yeah.
He did not. I've seen him every year, and we lost to him all the time. And you know what? Let me tell you something.
Y'all mustn't have anything great.
No, we had great players. We had Deion Sanders. We had Darryl Green. We had Mark Carey.
They were all 98.
We had Bruce Smith.
They were 98 when y'all got them.
Were they great players? Yeah. Y'all need to tell Marcellus to let me finish my point. All right, now, so here we go, right? He has developed his players through the years. The longevity that Andy Reid has showed has been based upon his ability to develop his players and get them to run the scheme in a proper manner, which says to me, and a lot of those guys, one of the guys that played for Andy Reid is now one of the guys that's helping run our league with Troy Vincent. He has groomed and grown men within his system. And I think a lot of the judgment of coaches being judged differently than players is about how you develop them as people as well.
I always look at the relationship side of everything from a business standpoint. To me, you're either in relationship, the whole point of business and the whole point of football and the whole point of developing that is it's all the relationship business. And you're either in that business or you're going out of business. And the reason he has stayed for so long is he has built those relationships, and his guys put on the film. You can see guys who play hard for their coach. And they do in Kansas City for that, man. They did in Philly as well.
LeVar, your point is excellent. I just want to say this, though. A lot of your football brand is attached to Penn State and college football.
Correct.
And so I think some of your point of view really applies to the college game. Andy Reid's resume in the college game, if he did all the same, look, the helping the rehabilitation of Michael Vick, that's a feather in his cap. Anybody you put in his system. And Andy Reid, I don't think he wears it on his sleeve, but faith plays a big role in his point of view on developing young men and all that. He sounds like Tom Osborne to me, or one of the great college coaches. But at the NFL level,
you gotta win.
You gotta throw them rings on.
Yeah.
And hopefully, and look, I'm rooting for it. I want it to happen. But if it doesn't happen, don't watch the show on Monday, Andy.
TurboTax is here to help this tax season by making tax filing easier for you. They've made it their mission to give you all the tools and advice you need to get your taxes done with confidence. Like making uploading your W-2 as easy as taking a picture. Just use your phone or tablet to simply snap a picture of your W-2 and then watch your information appear in the right place in your tax return. You can be sure you're filing your taxes correctly while at the same time making sure you're getting the best possible refund. TurboTax. All people are tax people.
Joining us now is Fox Sports NFL analyst TJ Houshmandzadeh. Time now for a big story. Sponsored by KFC. Come enjoy our new KFC wings in Buffalo Honey Barbecue and Nashville Hot. Oh my God, I'm hungry. All right, let's talk Antonio Brown, who is now several months into a public meltdown that has put his career in jeopardy and most recently landed him in jail for battery and burglary. Yesterday, Roger Goodell was asked about AB's status and said the league wants to be there for the troubled wide receiver.
We don't talk about the wellness of our players publicly, but I would tell you that you can be assured that the NFL and the NFLPA have a tremendous amount of resources that are available to all players. They are going to be made available to Antonio, and that we want to help get him on the right track and get him in a position where he is in a zone where he thinks he can be successful in life. And we are confident that can happen, and we want to work to do that. And from our standpoint, that's the first step. And the first step is making sure that we're doing everything to help Antonio.
All right, I think those are some fascinating and appropriate comments from the commissioner. What do you make of his comments about Antonio Brown?
Yeah, I love them in the sense of they're well-intentioned and consistent with all of our thinking. Antonio Brown needs help. I disagree in terms of the commissioner saying that in priority he needs help, because I think as the commissioner, as the judge, jury, executioner of our NFL, the first thing Antonio Brown needs is a definitive suspension. This is a guy who hasn't played since early September, who is still waiting to know what his fate is. So I understand the umbrella of resources, the total wellness program that the NFL has. But if you're the commissioner, this can also fall if you're Antonio Brown, who has a relationship with the commissioner based on, am I an active player or not an active player, as a classic cover response. It could be just to deflect and be indirect and talk greater about the person, but you only know the person because of the player. So if I'm Antonio Brown, I'm just sitting there saying, look, the best thing I can hear right now is exactly how long am I suspended with an attachment that I have to get mandatory psychological evaluation. I think that would have been the best statement.
I make of it is the ball, Antonio, is in your court. Go get your help, and then we'll talk about what else can come after that. But for me, it is, Antonio Brown said yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, I'm sorry for the kids I let down. I'll be back playing football. So this is the last time you can tell me that. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, I'm done with him. I really don't care what happens, because you've had chance, like we talked, it's a privilege, man. We all played, and it's over just like that. If you're not going to do what you're supposed to do, Antonio, he just told you what you need to do, AB. Go do it if you want to play. And if not, from what you said yesterday, if you don't do it, then for me, I can care less if you played again.
There's an old cliche in football. It says the best ability is availability, right? And I disagree with that wholeheartedly. The best ability is responsibility, and you have to take it. And the commissioner is giving you an olive branch to say, take responsibility, because we have the tools here, and we want to help you. And ultimately, and I know this, having a conversation, I had a conversation with the commissioner in London while I was calling a game in London, just about how he wants to help the players, but the players have to reach out and have to want to be helped. And I go back to one of the great conversations while I was in London with Darren Wallace. And if you don't know Darren Waller's story, look it up. The tight end for the Oakland Raiders, one of the bright young stars in our league right now, who was suspended multiple times, suspended for a year, thought he had OD'd, got out of his car, was about to OD, got himself help, reached out to the league. The league paid completely for his rehabilitation, sent him to a facility, took care of everything. Then he sat out for the year, humbled himself, went back to work at Sprouts stocking shelves until that suspension was over, until he got himself another opportunity to play. He stayed clean and he stayed sober. But the bottom line is that guy reached out to the league. What he's asking Antonio to do, reach out, get yourself some help. Let's mitigate some of the issues by you taking responsibility for those issues. Let's get you the help you need, because we would love, hey, who doesn't want a redemption story, and who doesn't want one of the great players in our league to thrive? I think we all do. But it's in his court. I agree with you. He's got to be the one that takes advantage of it.
I really like your point, because the NFL and Roger Goodell should not treat, despite AB's record of accomplishment and how valuable he's been to the league and part of the entertainment package, they shouldn't treat him any differently than Waller. And so I think to some degree we think like, oh, AB's done so much for the league, they should perhaps bend over a little bit for AB. I completely disagree with that. The league has done a lot for AB as well. AB's made a ton of money, and for Roger Goodell to stand up and say, hey, man, there still is a pathway back. You've embarrassed us. You've embarrassed one of our owners, one of our most important owners. And right now, your brand is so dangerous. That's why I think they're not coming with this suspension. His brand is so dangerous and so toxic, and he seems so dangerous to himself and others that the league has every right to say, hey, look, man, we will help you off the field, get your life back together, and then we'll bring you back into the fold. I don't really think there's going to be a suspension. He's set out. I just think he needs to clean himself up and show everyone that, like, he's taking this seriously, and then they'll take him seriously as a football player.
Yeah, and look, that's a dramatic shift in tone in terms of our NFL. They used to be pretty heavy-handed in terms of their suspension and pretty definitive. Like, this is how long you're gone. And if you're going to look at AB and the ultimate goal is for him to be a great player and person who transitions into a great after-retirement life, you got to create micro goals. And the first micro goal has to be actionable. It can't just be well wishes. Hey, we have resources. We have the Total Wellness Program since 2012. We all know, I go to therapy every single week. The NFL pays for it. We're a huge fraternity. But I'm also not an active player. We all have a finite amount of time to play the game. And AB right now is needing to know if he's going to have that opportunity, as well as can he help himself through that opportunity.
The ball's in his court. AB can play for as long as he's healthy and as long as he's mentally healthy and not a threat to the NFL himself or others. They'll welcome him back into the league if he takes a few steps.
No, Seattle kicked the tires, and then they came to the conclusion, we don't know when he's going to be able to play, so we can't do anything. Same thing happened in New Orleans. They got to a point where they're reaching out to AB, we don't know when you're going to come back. Roger Goodell can now take all those clouds away. Here's when he can come back. With an attachment, he needs help.
And joining us now, my second favorite player from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I got to be real, Derek.
Yeah. Oh, who's your first?
Warren Sapp. A little crazy, but Warren's my guy. Derek Brooks, a Hall of Famer. A no questions asked Hall of Famer.
You're my favorite player.
No questions asked Hall of Famer.
No question.
Maybe the greatest player from Florida State ever. I hope Deion ain't watching. I'm sorry. 49ers general manager. Let's talk some about it at the Suits Club. 49ers general manager John Lynch is obviously getting geared up for the Super Bowl Sunday, but the former Bucks and Broncos safety is also a finalist to make the Hall of Fame for the seventh time, and we'll find out Saturday if this is the year he gets into Canton. All right, Derek, you and Lynch were teammates for many years. You think he finally makes it?
I really hope he do, Jason. And a lot of the momentum, as you say, started to swing when the team that he's the general manager of and the momentum and how he built that team and people started to talk about the buzz and really bring attention to the fact that, this will be the 8th time that he's been a finalist in that room. And I look back and stating the case for him since my first year was 2014, he was in the same room with me. And everybody that was in the finalists that particular year is now in the Hall of Fame except him. So I continue to throw the facts out there that, tenure has been rewarded to a certain degree when you get to the voting. But more than that, instead of me being on a proactive campaign, I've just talked to some of the voters to ask them what questions, what concerns. Let me give you different information about how impactful John was, not just in our defense, but was an impactful player, a difference maker on the field. And I give credit and thankful to the guys that have listened to me, that'll be one of the 48 in that room voting here on Friday.
He should have already been in, based on what he did on the field, especially being a 9-time Pro Bowler, one of the co-captains, I could say, of your defense, a signature defense, an all-time defense. But he hasn't gotten in, so therefore he won't get in. And we're not going to get into a conversation about his general manager capabilities, now pouring on syrup to a career that's already been cemented. I always talk about the Hall of Fame, man, and you guys are in an exclusive club, and it needs to be merit-based on the field. We can't have conversations. We can't get into signature conversations and things he did to inspire. We need to say, did you do it? He did it, but for some reason, something in the criteria suggests that they're not going to put him in. I don't think he gets in.
Well, and you got a very valid point, Marcellus, and, I would, take that same sentiment and went directly to him and asked the same questions. Why? I don't want to put you on the spot. I just want to use an opportunity to educate you. And some of the things that, to be honest with you, that I brought to him was understanding how impactful that he was when Tony Dungy built this defense. It was Joe Green, Jack Ham, Donnie Shell. That's what he saw in us. And obviously Donnie got in with the blue ribbon pattern, but the impact that he made on the field was very, very similar to that. And I look and see in terms of John's career, for him to make an AFC change at the second half of his career, go there and do the exact same thing, if not more, because he did it with less talent in Denver, had the same sustainable career. To me, I would put that on the table for you to consider with that particular opinion.
I think he will get in, and I look at how hard it is. It's very difficult for safeties, for some reason, to get into the Hall. I don't know what it is, but it seems to be a little bit more difficult for them. But I will say this, the job he's doing as a GM should play a part also in your judging of him getting into the Hall of Fame. Why? Because it is directly connected to the National Football League as well. So he's showing that he was not only a leader and a facilitator with you, because it took a ton of leadership from yourself and from him for that team to be able to achieve at the level that they did. But now he's showing it in the front office. So I think he gets in based off of
As
maybe
a
what's
player,
going on.
Once you're done, like the gap between Derek Brooks and you or me is this. But damn, we're so good on Speak for Yourself. It shouldn't close. And look, we're doing something that is attached to the game of football and growing it. Like
not directly.
But
not
look,
that he's a GM in the NFL.
General managers can get in, owners can get in, but then we're going to now pour that into one category and say, oh, you just were an even better player? I disagree with that.
Would you not think that they're going to look at the criteria of him as a player and say, wow, that really plays a part in the work ethic that took place for him to be a strong general manager?
I don't want to, like Bill Polian did something completely different than the safety for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't want to believe. I do want to ask Derek this. Your Florida State teammate, or alum as well, Deion Sanders, has made some really strong comments in recent weeks and recent days about the Hall of Fame, saying that it's being watered down, too many guys are getting in. Where do you stand on that?
I think I stand in agreement, with Deion, but I stay in agreement about the process itself. And nothing against, obviously, all the blue ribbon panelists that selected my future teammates at the Hall. It's just something about all of us getting in through the same process. And for me, I did not want to lose the essence of that because they made adjustments to the process itself by adding 2 gold jackets in the room with Dan Fouts and James Lofton, getting younger voters and getting that turnover. But they didn't do an overhaul one-time anomaly that neither one of us God may not keep us here another 100 years to see what they do. And I think Deion is making more of the point that it's something that the Hall did not have to do in order to do it. So I just look at the process itself, and it is something to say that we all earned our right to be on this team through the exact same process, even though there were some tweaks, over the years to modernize this process, for lack of a better word. And I think he's speaking more to the essence of that, because once you get through this process, it's only going to be a max number through this process, not a complete overall.
Hey, Derek, I know you're still connected to the NFL. Richard Sherman made some comments, I believe yesterday, about black coaches and the NFL needs to do better. I didn't like his comment saying the players have no power, that it really should fall upon the media to change this. I disagree with that. I think the players have a lot of influence on who head coaches are.
I think, let's really expand that. We all have power and compassion about issues that are important to us and have a voice or influence about things that are important to us. And I believe if we all speak and collaborate and educate on that same passion point, change will happen. Let's not, be mindful of the same thing that how a good coach is judged based on the production of his players. I heard a coach once, say this, hey, a great coach could get something out of a very bad player, put him in the right position, coach the scheme. But a great player, really kind of hard to overcome bad coaching in certain situations. So I think, in that regards, we as players influence, because I like to think the play of our defense, in particular our position, helped get Lovie Smith a defensive coordinator job. What he did at the Rams helped him, obviously propelled him to a head coaching position. But I think now in the way, particularly this last, 2 months, the way that this situation has panned out, I'm the first to say, no, we got a problem. But how do we solve it? Getting data collectively and everybody being passionate about it, we'll get the changes done.
Derek, thank you very much. I'm sorry, Derek, I got to ask. The Super Bowl next year is in Tampa, and you're heavily involved with that.
Yes, Super Bowl 55. How ironic is that?
Oh, man, that's big.
Coming to Tampa. Yes, I am the co-chairman of our host committee, and part of my duties down here is learning everything that's going on behind the scenes here in Miami. So I look forward to giving the same view to you guys next year in Tampa, Florida.
Will do. All right, thank you, Derek. Joining us the show now, not only a Cowboys legend, but a future Hall of Famer, Jason Witten.
Look at that.
Jason, we got to get right to business, man. I want to know about Jerry Jones.
No. This Jason Witten right here. First of all, you playing again next year? You look like you're ready, brother.
We're ex-teammates, man. You can't do it. You're supposed to take care of me on that. We were just going to talk about Jerry and whatever that was.
Right. I remember going against this guy in practice, and y'all know me in Dallas. I wasn't worth a damn, right? And I had to see Jason Witten every single day, man.
And he showed you how you weren't worth a damn?
Oh, yeah.
No, that's not true.
Started the retirement right there.
That's not true. You're a baller when you roll up to the facility for about, 3-4 months with no license tags on the back of your truck. You know what I mean? Hey, is that new? Nah, just don't even need it. Yeah, look, I think I've already been down that road of retiring once, so I know it's like when it's debatable if that was the right decision or not. But you know what? I think I want to be deliberate going through that process this time, because look, you have a lot of opportunities after this is done, but playing, it's short-lived, certainly at this point. So I think all signs are pointing towards that, yeah, for sure.
My man.
Would you only play in Dallas, or would you consider playing anyplace else?
Yeah, I think, it's getting hot in here.
Your agent, please.
Look, I mean, you're somewhere 16 years. I mean, obviously there's a lot of sweat and equity there, but I think with a new coaching staff, you got to look at it and say, okay, hey, all things are on the table potentially, it's hard for me to say that, but look, I'm not naive enough to think as well. Like, look, it's a new coach. They usually want to go young in those situations as they start their program. So haven't got down that road. I had some great conversations with Jerry and Steven, been in constant communication with them, and even visited with Mike, had a good visit with him. So we got time before all that, but yeah, I think just keeping all things open.
All right, the beautiful thing about you having worked in the media, we don't have to throw you any softballs. We can come at you direct.
Let's do this.
Is Jerry Jones in the way of the Cowboys' success? Is he too much a part of the storyline and narrative? Is it too much Jerry?
No. I mean, it's all for the betterment of the team from the standpoint of the stage and the bright lights and what he creates there. I mean, he wants to win. I mean, he's going to be able to there'd be weeks go by that you didn't see him in there every day. I mean, it's not like he's in the coaches' meetings of asking, is that a run or a pass, or why aren't you getting into that RPO? I mean, that's not the way he does it. I mean, I think he's a great leader. He empowers his coaching staff. He has high expectations, as he should, as the owner and general manager. He includes himself in that process, when things don't go well or in the draft or anything like that. And as a coach, I think that's all you can ask for. You want the owner and general manager to be invested in what you're trying to build. So who cares if he has a press conference after the game, just because other owners don't do that? I mean, extremely loyal, bright, smart, and I take it as I was so lucky to play for him for that many years. I mean, I think he's just special in the entire family.
So you retire a year. You come back and play for the Cowboys, and I'm sure you're looking at the team like, this is the chance to get a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You're in the locker room. What went wrong? What do you think was the reason the Cowboys weren't as successful as everybody thought they should be?
Yeah, there's no question we underperformed, I mean, and the problem was that continued to linger because the division was so bad this year that you kept having opportunities. You're sitting there, we lost 3 in a row, and we're 6-7, and you're saying we're only 1 game back behind the Eagles as you go down the home stretch. That you can play a long time, and you're never going to get an opportunity like that again, But I just think the bottom line was we lost 7 of those 8 games by 1 score. And that's the league. I mean, that's the NFL as a whole. But you got to find, if you're a good team and you're going to make it in the postseason, you find ways to win those type of games, and we just couldn't do it. But I think that roster is not only talented, but it's ready to compete for a championship right now. And didn't do it this year, but it's a great opportunity moving forward.
Yeah, the team underachieved, but not everybody on that roster underachieved, especially Dak Prescott. Had a career year, saw him out last night. Still no deal. What do you think is going on in the negotiations?
I just think it's just that negotiation, you know. I mean, I think it's probably the finer details of it, but to me, I know that gets resolved, you know. I mean, Jerry loves paying his own guys. Dak's done everything the right way since day one, not only on the field, but off the field as well. He wants to be there. I mean, I just think it's a matter of time before he gets one of those mega deals.
At what number? Media hat back on. What number is Dak Prescott?
I don't, you know.
Stop that, Jason. I know you.
Market. Give me the market. What's the market?
33 is Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz, 32.5.
35, 36 is Russell Wilson.
Yeah, it's somewhere in there. Yeah, it's somewhere in there. Starts with a 3.
It starts with a 3 for sure.
Have you run any of this by Jerry? Because I think Jerry, in my opinion, rightfully believes there's added value to being the Cowboys quarterback. And so maybe Dak should come down a hair because he plays for the Cowboys. Do you believe any of that?
You know, I don't have those conversations. You know, when I came back, it was like, look, Dak's a dear friend, and obviously love playing there for Jerry, but you don't get him, you know. I was just trying to get some first downs on 3rd and 7. But I'll say this. Nobody wants to pay their players more than Jerry Jones wants to pay and see his guys have success. So I've never seen that get in the way when he's negotiating deals, he and Steven.
All right, let me ask you this. What do the Cowboys need most from Mike McCarthy, their new head coach, that would be a difference maker from perhaps previous years?
Well, I think the first thing, just a veteran player would just say this, you know, honest, direct communication. When you come in there, all a player really wants is honesty, especially when there's going to be a lot of changes. Anytime a new coach comes in, he brings in his staff, his guys, new way of doing things. Practice is different. That's all fine. Just be honest with the message and what you want. Mike's done that in his time in Green Bay. I think he's a good guy. He's very detailed. He's got a good roster and a great opportunity. That's all you can ask for in that situation. So I think when you look at coaches, when they get fired, what changes when they go to the new opportunity? You know, just as a whole, this isn't about Mike. Just, do you become just a repotted plant and, all right, we're going to get the same guys together and we're going to just do it better this time? Or do you take that year off and say, all right, here's things I struggled in, here's things I got to do better? And same thing for a player. I think you got to evaluate that and say, all right, these are things I got to do better going into next year. And if you don't have that confidence to be critical of yourself, like, it's probably not going to end well, you know? And that's something I always try to do. And I think that's something Mike did from what I saw from afar. Is he used that year last year to get better.
Now, look, the way you're answering all these questions, the Cowboys' opportunity is still going to be available to you, man, because you're an ambassador as well as still a talent. But at your age, and you know that they always try to pick something to pull at and talk bad about a player, especially at your age with the birth certificate, what are you better at right now at this age that you can sell to another team?
Well, I think it's just, you know, knowing that all these games are tight, you know, and that's what these games come down to. You lean on that experience more today than you probably did it earlier and when we were playing together. And we'll watch this game on Sunday, and it's going to be tight. It's going to be like, why did that receiver break in when he probably was supposed to just hook in? And there's a feel to it. You were great at it, TJ. It's just like something in his head told him to do that, or when you're rushing. And so I think when you're in these tight games, you need experience and the fact that you know exactly what that person's going to do and that the stage isn't too big for him, more than you need a 4-5-5 tight end instead of a guy like me.
Reliability is what you're talking about. You're going to be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. Not all the young guys, that's not true.
Yeah, and I think the consistency to do that week in and week out, that's what allowed, and we were talking about earlier about the rules of the game changing in practice, but it's hard to develop players, especially at skilled positions, play at a high level.
Don't have a lot of time for this, and you don't have to give me the full answer, but for me, Jason Garrett going to the Giants within the division to be the offensive coordinator instead of sitting out, that says something. And you don't have to tell me what you think it says, but am I right for thinking that says something about how he feels about leaving the Cowboys, going to a divisional rival?
I don't know that that's accurate. You know, I just think he played there, probably has a good relationship. He went to college right outside there in Princeton. he looks at the talent and says, okay, it's a young quarterback and it's a running back that's special. Just looked at it as a good opportunity, probably, you know, I mean, more than anything else. I mean, I haven't touched base with him on the details of why he took it, but I was happy for him. Certainly, we had a lot of time together over the years, but, you know, I don't think it was a jab or something, if that's what you're getting at, to Dallas for taking that job. He just wants to coach more than anything else.
Tell us about the Courtyard Super Bowl sleepover. That's why you're here.
Yeah, they're the official hotel of the NFL, and partnered up with them. Pretty neat experience. They're going to allow the fans to have the opportunities. The lucky winner gets a chance to stay the night in a suite at the Super Bowl. So they get to bring their friends. A gal won it. She's a young doctor, San Francisco, and she invited 3 of her friends. So stay the night, have a good time, wake up, you're already there, ready to roll. So,
Jason, thank you so much for the time. Join us now, two-time Super Bowl champion Justin Tuck. Thank you for being here. Justin, we're gonna put you on the spot right off the top. We got to talk about Eli Manning. Is Eli Manning a Hall of Fame?
How quick do y'all want this segment to be? It's a one-word answer. It's yes. I mean, listen. Yes, absolutely he's a Hall of Famer. I get in this argument, not even necessarily an argument, a debate often. I just give them 3 things that I think if you have any quarterback that has a list of this, then they're all Hall of Famers. 1, he played 16 years and didn't miss a start. So you talk about just consistency. He's top 10 in every statistical category that we even care about. And he's a 2-time Super Bowl MVP. Just hard stop there. Tell me a quarterback that has that on his list that we wouldn't talk about as a Hall of Famer.
We wouldn't. But let's say this. There's a reason for some people, if not many, that this is always a conversation, that Justin has this argument so often. Why don't you think Eli's getting his fair due or the respect he deserves?
I mean, it's a lot of things. I think if we're being completely honest, if he didn't have a big brother who was arguably top, I mean, easily top 5 ever to play the game, then he's not held to that standard, right? I think a lot of times you talk about Eli, the first thing people want to do is compare him to his brother. He's not Peyton. Peyton is Peyton, and there's no argument about that. But I think Eli carved his path his way. He did things his way, and I think that the collective of what he accomplished both on and off the field in New York City for that long of a time frame definitely puts him in what I feel as though is Hall of Fame worthy.
And I agree with that. I think being Peyton's brother hurt him. A lot of people try to say it helps him. I always thought that was going to be an unfair standard.
I'm someone that thinks it helps him being Peyton's brother, but I think he could have helped himself, Justin, had he retired a year or 2 earlier. True. I think he has getting benched and things like that hurt his legacy a little bit.
I would agree with that. It's no doubt about that. And I would say to that, name a quarterback that would retire early when he didn't have to, and he'd leave $45 million plus on the table on those 2 years.
Hello.
Would you? Would you?
Well, I did.
I mean,
but I didn't want to.
No way. I mean, that's right? But yeah, you're absolutely right. Being the last 2 years has hurt his legacy. But at the end of the day, right, if you're looking at what he accomplished in this sport, given the fact that everything he's done has been mirrored to his brother, I think he definitely. And I'm not saying he's the first ballot. I'm not one of these guys that are going to say, oh, Eli. Yes, I am biased, and I love the guy, and I think, one thing he did that I think every Hall of Famer has done or should have done in their career is make people around him better. He did that. And you just talk about scrutiny. He's in the biggest limelight there is. Everything that he did bad was magnified. Everything he did good was like, okay, he did that. But then again, when he did something good, it was compared to what Peyton did. It wasn't it never stood on his own just because he was always in his brother's limelight. And if you talk about the best Super Bowl runs from getting us into the playoffs to capping it off with two of the most historic runs in the playoffs, I mean, for me, I don't think this is even an argument.
You've done a hell of a job with the argument, I got to say that.
Thank you.
Let's I want to pivot because I want to ask you a question. You were a part of a very elite defensive front when you, especially for that first Super Bowl. A lot of people said that the defense and the defensive line in particular should have been given that MVP award. leave that for another time. But when you're looking at this game coming in to it now and what everybody's talking about, Mahomes versus this defensive front, you have a unique perspective on it. What's your take on it?
Listen, if San Francisco's front four does not apply adequate pressure to Mahomes, then they're going to have a hard time.
Do you think they can do it?
Yeah, I think they can. When I look at San Francisco's D-line, the front four, and the wave that they can bring in, it's more than just four of them, right? They can bring a wave of more guys, right? Compared to Kansas City's O-line, I give that matchup to the 49ers. Now, if you have to create all of these gimmicks and gamax to get out the Mahomes by bringing people from here and bringing people from there and taking them out of that coverage, I just don't see how that bodes well for the 49ers. If you can get to him and using four and keep 7 guys in coverage that can help with one of the fastest, most electric, offensive teams we've ever seen, the Tyreek Hills of the world, I think they got a better shot. But if you got to blitz him, your chances of beating this team goes down dramatically to me. And that's one of the reasons why we was able to do what we was able to do against, Tom Brady. We would have had to send, 5, 6, 7 people to hit him, giving him the ability to have one-on-one matchups with Randy Moss and whoever else he had back. We probably don't have the same outcome as we had, but we was lucky enough to have that front four that was able to create that pressure alone. And I think the 49ers has that too, but they got to play their best game on Sunday, no doubt about it.
Their front four versus Kansas City's speed on the outside and Travis Kelce over the middle. You're a defensive lineman, maybe a bit biased, but what would you rather have, their speed or that front four?
Can I put my front four in this?
Is your front four better?
I think so.
Is it close?
I think it's very close. I think it's close. But listen, we had 3 DNs that could play front 7, basically. I mean, other than probably the Mike. We had D linemen that could play outside backer. We had, D linemen that could play inside and out. So we had a lot of flexibility, and it gave us a lot of ability to kind of show Tom a lot of different looks. He didn't necessarily know where he was coming from. He didn't know where to slide the line from. Because think about it, you got to make a decision. You had this young stud, O.C. Muir.
Young O.C.
And you had Michael Strahan, who was not going. He would have died on that field to win it that night, because he knew that was his last shot probably. And then you had me. I was the kind of wild card. You didn't know where I was coming from. Yeah. So if I'm Tom Brady, I'm sitting back there like, what I call to Mike? What did I slide these guys from? And it don't matter. It didn't matter to us because you slide it away from me, you slide it to me. We had guys who could win the one-on-ones, and in a lot of cases, win the double team. And I think the 49ers have to do that. And I'm not saying, the only reason I'm probably giving us a little bit more credit, because we're a little bit more seasoned. They got a rookie in Bosa. They got more younger. They don't have a Hall of Fame guy like Michael Strahan who kind of settled everybody down and kind of made sure that we were just this. We didn't look at none of the hoopla and all the things that go along with this Super Bowl, right? We were this. And I think, that's one of the reasons why we were able to just go out there and dominate that football game. I'm telling you now, if the 49ers don't do that, I can see Mahomes and crew putting up 40+.
Blowing them out.
I'm not gonna say gonna blow them out because 49ers offense they're gonna do some stuff too, and they can kind of run the ball and keep him off the field a little bit. But it's gonna be hard to keep them under 40 if they're not pressuring Mahomes. That guy is that dynamic.
Listening to you, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like you're predicting the Chiefs, but it'll be a close one. Am I right in that assessment?
I heard the opposite.
You heard the opposite?
I'm actually going 49ers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why, man. I'm biased. I'm biased. But if you look at, I think when you look at the 49ers, they have a more complete team.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's I'm talking with my head right now.
Confused with right there.
Well, I'm just talking with my head right now, not my heart.
What don't the Chiefs have? What don't?
All right, if you're going to talk about it, right, you got offense versus offense. I give Kansas City the nod there, but like the 49ers they're not no pushover.
They ain't got Pat Mahomes.
Them guys, you're right, I agree with that, but they have a running attack where they can control the line of scrimmage, they can control the ball, keeping Holmes on the sideline a little bit longer. And then Jimmy, he has weapons too.
Yeah.
He has a tight end too. He has a few wide receivers too. They can put up points as well, and they've been able to dictate how they put up the points.
Yeah, good point.
I think the Kansas City Chiefs are a little bit more one-dimensional.
Do you feel like we're overlooking the Kansas City Chiefs defense right now?
Hold on, I want to add something to that question.
Go.
Justin, I'm going to tell you, you're really good at this TV thing. Steve Spagnuolo, you know him well. The Chiefs defensive coordinator, you played for him. What is Steve going to bring to the table? Talk some pro up. Help me with my Chiefs argument. What's Steve's perspective?
And listen, when I'm talking about 49ers, it ain't like I'm saying 49ers are going to dominate the game. This is going to be a game I feel as though it's going to go down to the last 2 or 3 drives of the game. It's that close from my viewpoint. But with Spags, what you get with Spags is a guy that never has seen a moment too big. Even when he was young Spags in 2007, 2008, we used to come up to him and say, listen, Spags, I need your A game. And me and OC used to play with him all the time. You got an A game, an A+ game, where are we at today? And he would look over and say, listen, that's the guy I'm coaching against? He stands no chance. And that's how I think he looks at all the moments. Tonight, he's looking at it the same way. Shanahan and whoever else, that is a one-on-one matchup with him, and he relishes in those moments. And the one thing I think that he brings to the table is, one, his experience in a big game like this, but also he was able to just make everything around him calm. And the thing that he does that most D coordinators that I've come in contact with, I haven't come in contact with a lot of them. I was lucky to not play for a lot of them, but the one thing I think he did better than most is he didn't care about what his scheme was. He cared about, all right, Marcellus, he's good at this. LA, he's good at this. Let's build something around what they're good at. Not say, oh, I'm a 3-4 guy, I'm a 4-3 guy, this is my scheme, get on board. It was like, Justin, I can do this with Justin. I can do this with Ocean. I can do this with Stray. I can do this with AP. I can do this with these guys. And it might not be something that he's done ever before, but he creates the defense around his talent, which allowed us as players to be so comfortable in what we were doing, because that's what we was good at.
You explained something to me that I've been trying to figure out. The Chiefs, I'm from Kansas City.
Sure.
Lived there for 16 years. My mother lived there for a bunch of years. This swagger the Chiefs have that's kind of caught me off guard, some of it's coming from Steve Spagnuolo, it sounds like. He has a swagger and a confidence that he's giving to
very quietly. You won't see him outwardly say it in the media and all that, but in those locker rooms, I'm telling you right now, he's telling those guys, I'm better than anybody they got on that sideline. But he's also going to tell them, it's my job to prove it to you. So, just like I, as a player, had to go against, Logan Makins and Matthew Light on those Super Bowl wins, I had to go out there and prove that I was better than them in that moment. Well, he's going to have to do it. He's telling them, I'm going to do the same thing when it comes to calling plays against the Shanahans of the world. That's me against him. I got to beat him. You do your job. I'm going to put you in the right positions. And that allowed us to play so much faster than what I'd ever kind of seen before.
All right. Tell us about Volvo and giving away $1 million during the big game.
Yeah, man. So, one thing that Volvo is very, very much so known for is safety. And I was blessed to have a safety in the Super Bowl, so I guess they figured I would be a good spokesman to kind of push this along. But you can go to VolvoSafetySunday.com. Go and pick whatever Volvo you like. Mine is the XC90 SUV. But if yours is something else, go online, pick that Volvo, create it however you like it, the color you like, the interior you like, the wheels you like, whatever it may be. They'll automatically enter you into their sweepstakes. And what they're doing is, if we're lucky enough to have a Super Bowl safety, they will then pick $1 million worth of entries and give away $1 million worth of cars to entries. Wow. So hopefully we get a safety in the Super Bowl and Volvo will be pennying up 100, however many cars that equals out to, but it'll be $1 million in total.
Thank you, Justin. Great job. All right, we're live in South Beach, getting you ready for Super Bowl 54. Speak for yourself, Whitlock and Wiley. LeVar Arrington and TJ Houshmandzadeh are back. Let's talk about the smartest way to win, sponsored by ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. All right, let's move to the 49ers, who have been led to the Super Bowl by their defense and running game, with Jimmy Garoppolo mostly taking a back seat. A lot of people have been debating whether Jimmy G is a game manager, but USA Today says he's actually a system quarterback. Either way, San Francisco is in the big game. So the question is there something wrong with being a system quarterback?
Yeah, because I'm not raising my hand to be one. However, there is a distinction.
It pays well.
It pays hella well. I don't know what he was when he only won 7 games and became the highest paid player in NFL history, but I digress. Look, the difference between a game manager is you have to protect him. because you can't lean on him to make all the throws. Doesn't have full capabilities. But a system quarterback is a guy that can make all of them, but then you trust other facets of your team, whether it's lean on your defense, lean on your running game, and say, this guy can do it all, but in priority, we're going to lean in other places. So I wouldn't want to be either one of those, but system actually has a more of a positive connotation than the game manager.
Every quarterback is a system quarterback.
Boom.
But some quarterbacks make the system.
Boom.
And so for me, when you give Jimmy G that contract, it's okay that he's not doing much, but I'm not giving you big money and you can't give me big numbers. Don't tell me about the results. He has great players with him. I'm not paying a quarterback that amount of money and you throw the ball 8 times. You're winning games. When those guys get older and you got to pay everybody and they start to leave, what happens? Can you put the game on his shoulder? But like Mahomes, he is the system. He can play in any system. And Jimmy G, can he? We don't know.
I don't think there's anything wrong when winning is involved. I think it has to be a selfish approach to say that you have a problem with being a system guy. That would be my first point of it. But then my second point is, again, when you look at system quarterbacks, one of the systems I think about, because we're going into this Super Bowl and he's going to have his DNA on this game, is Mike Shanahan. John Elway's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play this game, but he was in a running system. That was a run-first system. So when you look at the type of success that John Elway was able to have and sustain during the course of his career, a lot of it was based off of the amount of success that they were able to have running the ball. So I don't see there being something wrong with being called a system quarterback, especially if you're winning.
I like systems and processes. They serve talented people well, so I don't have a problem with it. I actually like that Jimmy G's performing well in his system. Darnell, yes, sir. Is there a Super 6 this weekend for the Super Bowl?
Yes, there is. And one of the questions is, how many total touchdowns will Patrick Mahomes have? Whitlock, Marcellus. Let's get our fans some money.
I love this question because Jimmy G's not even a part of it. Patrick Mahomes will probably have 5 or 6 touchdowns. I'll go 6.
Oh, wow. I'll cut that in half. 3. I mean, this is the Super Bowl. Let's be realistic. So I'll say 3.
Well, Jimmy's here to talk about our approval rating for Andy Reid. You better not give me big dummy today. My brother and sisters in the audience.
Well, then they already know. Ain't no sense in me saying nothing. Matter of fact, I got to say this, nephew. Big dummy of the day goes to the person who told Derek Brooks, you the best player that ever came out of, what is it, FSU?
Yeah.
Florida State.
Yeah.
I got 2 words for you. Prime time. Come on, man.
Don't
do that.
knows I love it. All right, let's talk to Andy Reid, who will lead the Chiefs against another of the league's best played callers in Kyle Shanahan Sunday. Reid is obviously the old hand in this game with the more than 20 years of head coaching experience up against the young gun in Shanahan Marcellus, who has the coaching edge. Andy Reid.
Yeah, right. Nah, I'll go with Shanahan, man. Jimmy G hasn't been unleashed in these playoffs just yet. Run dominant and playing great defense. And you got a wild card of Jimmy G. He gets unleashed. I say Shanahan.
All right, Uncle Jimmy, you heard me earlier. Andy Reid's got to cement his legacy with a victory this Sunday, or he ain't done a damn thing.
Nephew, I'm appalled. I'm disgruntified. Man, how you not gonna give Andy Reid his props? He done took the Chiefs to the Super Bowl, first time in 50 years. I'm proud of him, and I'm proud of all them boys on that Chiefs team.
You gotta be kidding me.
Come Sunday, 2 teams gonna line up, all right? And the best team gonna win. And if it's not gonna be the Chiefs, so be it. It's okay.
What?
Because look at me, it's not whether or not you win or lose. Am I right or wrong? It's just about whether or not you get to play the game, right?
Jimmy, you cannot be serious.
You're wrong.
Huh?
You're wrong.
Hell no, I ain't
You're
serious.
wrong, boo.
You think I done waited this long to go to the prom to kiss my sister? Boy, if you believe that, you dumb as you look. And that's dramatic within itself. Look, man, Andy Reid needs to do whatever he needs to do to win this game.
You damn straight.
Okay? And there's one guy he needs to go to. He knows how to win. Bill Belichick.
Here we go.
Listen to this. Damn taking a page out of the book. Take the whole damn book. Okay? the equipment manager rerouted, it's like Malcolm said, by any means necessary. I'm just trying to tell you.
I agree with you. By any means necessary.
Hell no.
Because if it don't get done, Andy Reid's getting done right here on this show. All right. I got Andy Reid at a 77 All-Star status. I moved him up a point in job performance, a point in all-time greatest, a 77 All-Star status for Andy Reid.
I voted 89 because of likability.
Let me go.
I know, because I like
likability.
Yeah, he ain't getting in the Hall of Fame yet, but respect for him. He needs the ring.
The internet agrees with me. He's an all-star. He's on the cusp of being a GOAT status, but he's got to get it done this weekend.
Come on,
Thank you, internet. Thank you, South Beach.